Now text number 1, next of instruction. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jihva vegam mudaropasta vegam etan veganyo visahet dhira sarvam pimam prithvi sasisyat. Translation. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the action of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.9 and 10, Parikshit Maharaj placed a number of intelligent questions before Sukdev Goswami. One of these questions was, why do people undergo atonement if they cannot control their senses? For instance, a thief may know perfectly well that he may be arrested for his stealing, and he may actually even see a thief arrested by the police. Yet he continues to steal. Experience is gathered by hearing and seeing. One who is less intelligent gathers experience by seeing, and one who is more intelligent gathers experience by hearing. When an intelligent person hears from the law book and shastras or scriptures that stealing is not good, and hears that a thief is punished when arrested, he refrains from theft. A less intelligent person may first have to be arrested and punished for stealing to learn to stop stealing. However, a rascal, a foolish man, may have the experience of both hearing and seeing, and may even be punished but still be continued to steal. Even if such a person atones and is punished by the government, he will again commit theft as soon as he comes out of the jail. If punishment in jail is considered atonement, what is the benefit of such atonement? Thus Parikshit Maharaj inquired. He compared atonement of an elephant bathing. The elephant may take a very nice bath in the river, but as soon as it comes onto the bank, it throws dirt all over its body. What then is the value of its bathing? Similarly, many spiritual practitioners chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and at the same time commit many forbidden things, thinking that their chanting will counteract their offenses. Of the 10 types of the offenses one can commit while chanting the holy name of the Lord, this offenses is called Namo Baladhyasya, Hi Papa Buddhi, committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Similarly, certain Christians go to the church to confess their sin, thinking that confessing their sins before a priest and performing some penance will relieve them from the results of their weekly sins. As soon as Saturday is over and Sunday comes, they again begin their sinful activities, expecting to be forgiven the next Saturday. This kind of prayaschit or atonement is condemned by Parikshit Maharaj, the most intelligent king of his time. Sukdev Goswami, equally intelligent as befitting the spiritual master of Maharaj Parikshit, answered the king and confirmed that his statement concerning atonement was correct. A sinful activity cannot be contracted by a pious activity. Thus, real prayaschit atonement is the awakening of our dormant Krishna consciousness. Real atonement involves coming to real knowledge, and for this there is a standard process. When one follows a regulated hygienic process, he does not fall sick. A human being is meant to be trained according to certain principles to revive his original knowledge. Such a methodical life is described as tapasya. One can be gradually elevated to the standard of real knowledge or Krishna consciousness. by practicing austerity and celibacy, brahmacharya, by controlling the mind, by controlling the senses, by giving up one's possession in charity, by being avowedly truthful, by keeping clean, and by practicing yogasana. However, if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by mystic yoga process. Similarly, by following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness, refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, and by engaging in the service of Supreme Lord under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. This easy process is being recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami. First, one must control his speaking power. Every one of us has the power of speech. As soon as we get an opportunity, we begin to speak. If do not speak about Krishna consciousness, we speak about all sorts of nonsense. A toad in a field speaks by croaking, and similarly, everyone who has a tongue wants to speak, even if all he has to say is nonsense. The croaking of the toad, however, simply invites the snake, please come here and eat me. Nevertheless, although it is inviting death, the toad goes on croaking. The talking of materialistic men and impersonalist Mayavadis philosophers may be compared to the croaking of frogs. They are always speaking nonsense and thus inviting death to catch them. Controlling a speech, however, does not mean self imposed silence, the external process of mona, as Mayavadi philosophers think. Since may appear helpful for some time, but ultimately it proves a failure. The meaning of controlled speech conveyed by Srila Rupa Goswami advocates the positive process of Krishna Katha, engaging the speaking process in glorifying the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. The tongue can thus glorify the name, forms, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. The preacher of Krishna Katha is always beyond the clutches of death. This is the significance of controlling the urge to speak. The restlessness or fickleness of mind, manovega, is controlled when one can fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. The Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Adhikar Andhakar Jaha Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar. Krishna is just like the sun. The Maya is just like darkness. If the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Similarly, if Krishna is present in the mind, there is no possibility of the minds being agitated by Maya's influence. The yogic process of negating all material thoughts will not help. To try to create a vacuum in the mind is artificial. The vacuum will not remain. However, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best, one's mind will naturally be controlled. Similarly, anger can be controlled. We cannot stop anger altogether. But if we simply become angry and those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotee of the Lord, we control our anger in Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry with the miscreant brother Jagai and Madhai, who blasphemed and struck Nityananda Prabhu. In his Sikshastka, Lord Chaitanya wrote, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Shahishnuna. One should be humbler than the grass and more tolerant than the tree. One may then ask why the Lord exhibit his anger. The point is that one should be ready to tolerate all insults to one's own self, but when Krishna or his pure devotee is blasphemed, a genuine devotee becomes angry and acts like fire against the offenders. Krodha, anger cannot be stopped, but it can be applied rightly. It was in anger that Hanuman set fire to Lanka. but he is worshipped as the greatest devotee of the Lord Ramchandra. This means that he utilized his anger in the right way. Arjuna serves as another example. He was not willing to fight, but Krishna incited his anger. You must fight. To fight without anger is not possible. Anger is controlled, however, when utilized in the service of the Lord. As for the urges of the tongue, we all experience that the tongue wants to eat palatable dishes. Generally, we should not allow the tongue to eat according to its choice, but should control the tongue by supplying prasada. The devotee's attitude is that we will eat only when Krishna gives him prasada. That is the way to control the urge of the tongue. One should take prasada at scheduled times and should not eat in restaurant or sweetmeat shops simply to satisfy the whims of the tongue or belly. If we stick to the principle of talking only prasada, the urges of the belly and the tongue can be controlled. In a similar manner, the urges of the genitals, the sex impulse can be controlled when not used unnecessarily. The genitals should be used to beget a Krishna conscious child. Otherwise, they should not be used. The Krishna consciousness movement encourages marriage not for the satisfaction of the genital but for the begetting the Krishna consciousness children. As soon as the children are a little grown up, they are sent to our Gurukula, a school in Dallas, Texas, where they are trained to become fully Krishna conscious devotee. Many such Krishna conscious children are required, and one who is capable of bringing forth Krishna conscious of offspring is allowed to utilize his genitals. When one is fully practiced in the method of Krishna conscious control, he can become qualified to be a bona fide spiritual master. In his Anuvriti explanation of Upadesamrita, Sri Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur writes that our material identification creates three kinds of urges: the urge to speak, the urge or demands of the mind, and the demands of the body. When a living entity falls a victim to these three types of the urges, his life becomes inauspicious. One who practices resisting these demands or urges is called tapasvi, or one who practices austerities. By such tapasya, one can overcome victimization by the material energy, the external potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we refer to the urge to speak, we refer to unless useless talking, such as that of the impersonal Mayavadi, philosophers, or of persons engaged in fruitive activities, technically called karmakanda, or of materialistic people who simply want to enjoy life without restriction. All such talks or literatures are practically exhibitions of the urge to speak. Many people are talking nonsensely and writing volumes of useless books, and all this is the result of the urge to speak. To counteract this tendency, we have to divert our talking to the subject of Krishna. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly person to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows, since the all perfect person are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. On the other hand, that literature which is full of description of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastime, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world. Misdirected civilization, such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. The conclusion is that only when we talk about devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can we refrain from useless nonsense talk. We should always endeavor to use our speaking powers solely by the purpose of realizing Krishna consciousness. As for the agitation of the flickering mind, they are divided into two divisions. The first is called avirodha priti or unrestricted attachment, and other is called virodha yukta krodha, anger arising from frustration. Adherence to the philosophy of the Mayavadis, belief in the fruitive results of the Karmavadis, and belief in plans based on materialistic desires are called avirodha priti. Gyanis, karmis, and materialistic plan makers generally attract the attention of conditioned soul, but when the materialistic cannot fulfill their plans and when their devices are frustrated, they become angry. Frustration of material desires produces anger. Similarly, the demands of the body can be divided into three categories: the demands of the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. One may observe that these three senses are physically situated in a straight line as far as the body is concerned, and that the bodily demands begin with the tongue. If one can restrain the demands of the tongue by limiting its activities to the eating of prasada, the urges of the belly, the genital can automatically be controlled. In this connection, Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, शरीरा विद्या जल जोड़ेंद्रिय ताहि काल जीवा पाए जीवा फले विषय सागरे तारा मध्य जीवायति लोभो मोहे सुदुर्मुति ताके जेठा कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बड़ा दयामय करी बारे जीवा जय स्वप्रसाद अन्य दिलो भाई सही अन्नामृत खाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ प्रेम डाको चैतन्य निताई. O Lord, this material body is lumps of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. Somehow or other, we have fallen into the ocean of material sense enjoyment, and all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. It is very difficult to conquer the tongue in this world, but you, dear Krishna, are very kind to us. You have sent this nice prasada to help us conquer the tongue. Therefore, let us take this prasada to our full satisfaction and glorify your lordships, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. And in love, call for the help of Lord Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda. There are six kinds of rasas, tests, and if one is agitated by any one of them, he becomes controlled by the urges of the tongue. Some persons are attracted to the eating of meat, fish, crabs, eggs, and other things produced by semina and blood and eaten in the form of dead bodies. Others are attracted by eating vegetables, creepers, spinach, or milk products, but all for the satisfaction in the tongue's demands. Such eating for sense gratification, including the use of extra qualities of species like chili and tamarind, is to be given by the Krishna conscious person. The use of pan, haritki, betel nuts, various spices used in pan making, tobacco, LSD, marijuana, opium, liquor, coffee, and tea is indulged is to fulfill illicit demands. If we can practice accepting only remnants of food offered to Krishna, it is possible to get free from Maya's victimization. Vegetables, grains, fruits, milk products, and water are proper foods to offer to the Lord, as Lord Krishna himself prescribes. However, if one accepts prasada only because of its palatable taste and thus eats too much, he, he also falls prey to trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to avoid very palatable dishes even while eating prasada. If we offer palatable dishes to the deity with the intention of eating such nice food, we are involved in trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. If we accept the invitation of a rich man with the idea of receiving palatable food, we are also trying to satisfy the demands of the tongue. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated. That person who runs here and there seeking to gratify his palate and who is always attached to the desires of his stomach and genitals is unable to attain Krishna. As stated before, the tongue, belly, and genitals are all situated in a straight line and they fall in the same category. Lord Chaitanya has said, Bhala na khaibo or bhala na paribe. Do not dress luxurious and do not eat delicious food stuff. Those who suffer from disease of the stomach must be unable to control the urges of the belly. At least according to this analysis, when we desire to eat more than necessary, we automatically create many inconveniences in life. However, if we observe fasting days like Ekadasi and Janmashtami, we can restrain the demands of the belly. As far as the urges of the genitals are concerned, there are two proper and improper, or legal and illicit sex. When a man is properly mature, he can marry according to the rules and regulation of the Shastras and use his genitals for getting nice children, that is legal and religious. Otherwise, he may adopt many artificial means to satisfy the demands of the genital and he may not use any restraint. When one indulge in illicit sex life as defined by the Shastras, either by thinking, planning, talking about, or actually having sexual intercourse, or by satisfying the genitals by artificial means, he is caught in the clutches of Maya. These instructions apply not only to householders but also to Tyagis, or those who are in the renounced order of life. In his book Prema Vivarta, chapter 7, Sri Jagannath Pandit says, My dear brother, you are in the renounced order of the life and should not listen to talk about ordinary worldly things, nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others. Do not think of women even in dreams. You have accepted the renounced order of life with a vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember the incident of Chota Haridas and how he has rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress in fine garments, but always remain humble and serve their Lordship Sri Sri Radha Krishna in your heart of hearts. The conclusion is that one who can control these senses, items, a speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals, is to be called a Swami or Goswami. Swami means master, and Goswami means master of the go or senses. When one accepts the renounced order of life, he automatically assumes the title of Swami. This does not mean that he is the master of his family, community, or society. He must be master of his senses unless one is master of his senses. He should not be called Goswami, but Godasa, servant of the senses, following in the footsteps of six Goswamis of Vrindavana. All Swamis and Goswamis should fully engage in the transcendental, loving service of the Lord. As opposed to this, the Godasas engage in the service of the senses or in the service of the material world. They have no other engagement. Prahlad Maharaj has further described the Godas as Adanta Go, which referred to one whose senses are not controlled, and Adanta Go cannot become a servant of Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30, Prahlad Maharaj had said, for those who have decided to continue their existence in this material world for the gratification of these senses, there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious, not by personal endeavor, by instruction from other, or by joint conference. They are dragged by the unbridled senses into the darkest region of ignorance, and thus they madly engage in what is called chewing the chewed. तो यहाँ पे हमारा नेक्ट्रोएम्स इंस्ट्रक्शन का फर्स्ट टेक्स्ट नंबर फर्स्ट कंप्लीट होता है।